welcome to another episode of What Are You Selling with me, David Green. Joining me today is the fantastic Rachel Rener, author of the Lightning Conjurer series and the incredible The Girl Who Talks to Ashes. I'm just doing the introduction now as there was a little bit of a issue with recording at the start, but the rest of the interview is completely intact. But also I just wanted to remind you that we're doing a giveaway on the channel. It was a 100 subscriber giveaway, which we have now hit, so thank you very much. But we're going to keep the competition going until our next episode of Ease and the Reader, where we will announce the winner. So all you need to do to join is just subscribe. That's it. And everyone who is subscribing by that point will go into a draw, and someone will win a signed copy of In Solitude Shadow by me. So enough of that. Enjoy the interview.
No, so I ended up getting in trouble because it was like this very fictionalized account of a woman who like slowly and gruesomely died of Ebola. And it was really just supposed to be like, a disease write-up. And then, when I lived in Japan, I had this blog where I wrote about singing toilets and eating fish heads, which I actually had to do, and I don't want to talk about it. And that inadvertently got a bit of a following. And then, I've done like a lot of marketing and advertising, and somehow it always related back to writing. But of course, I never thought about being a writer because only bums and, poor people are writers. Like, who would actively choose to do this? Until my husband bullied me into, becoming a bum. And it's been the greatest career choice I could ever make.
Yeah, so. I mean, being a bum is great fun. It's like, when people ask me, like, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I look after my son, and then I write in the evenings just for something to do. And it's like, well, but what do you do? And I'm like, well, I don't do anything. Yeah, no, I don't do anything. It's just that kind of thing. So, you write contemporary fantasy and magical realism. So, what were some of your like influences for yourself? What do you enjoy reading yourself?
I hang out in Indie Fantasy Addicts, which, by the way, I see your books popping up all the time. It's so cool. I got so used to seeing, you're sort of like the dead man walking. I know this question's about me, but whatever, I'm putting it back on you. I got so used to seeing that, which looks very like paranormal, like mystery, which I know it's actually a lot more than that. I didn't realize I've been seeing this cover over and over again, which is gorgeous. Like this woman has like bluish purple hair and she's like holding a sword. And I keep thinking like, oh, that looks like such a cool book. And literally it was like 2 days ago when I see, In Solitude Shadow, oh, David Green. So speaking of books that I'm reading, I'm really looking forward to reading that one. But I just start associating you with, like the dead man walking.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of I like to make things difficult for myself. So it's like I'm going to write 2 different series that are completely, well, they're still fantasy, but very, very different types of fantasy. And but also I have another series that's coming out at some point soon, and it's not fantasy either. It's like a 1940s thriller set in Santa Monica, and it's like well, like there'll be people probably like, oh yeah, he writes fantasy, and then they'll look at this and they'll be like, this is not fantasy.
That's why you're not supposed to do that. But you and I are rule breakers, right? Because what happens is you get fans who say, oh, I read this really cool book about elves and fae and magical creatures. I haven't written that yet, by the way, but then the next book from the author is like contemporary romance, like a meet cute. So we're not supposed to do that. But I guess you and I missed the memo.
I think so, and maybe. Well, it's one of those things like, when you get an idea in your head and it's like, I have to do this, otherwise I'm just going to be thinking about it all the time. And but I also think as well, like, a lot of times, like you read a lot of these kind of rules about writing. It's like, don't do this and don't do this and don't do this and this, and then but then you go and like pick up a book that is like really like well thought of, an author is really, really well thought of, and they've broken all those rules.
Right. Yeah, it's sort of don't do this unless you do it really well,
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
your name is, Stephen King, Danielle Steele, right?
Yeah.
But nah, writing rules were they were meant to be broken.
Exactly, exactly. And I think no, readers kind of they want. I mean, and we'll talk about the Lightning Conjurer series in a second. But in with the girl that talks to ashes, or the girl who talks to ashes, there's such a mix of genre in there. But I think readers enjoy that because they want, especially these days with like you have so many like kind of shared universe kind of things where there's like a
Yeah.
mixture of things going into it. It stimulates people a little bit more, and it's like, and people then realize when they're reading something that has a mix, like, I actually like this aspect of this, which I've never
Yeah.
I liked. I thought, where
I,
did that come from for you?
like,
Sorry, the girl who talks to ashes. Where did that, with being such a genre mash of things, where did that come from? Was that something that's just like something that you wanted to read yourself?
well, when I so rudely interrupted you a half dozen times, I was just going to say that going back to the genre mashup, I think it's really refreshing, particularly in indie and small press works, because traditional publishing, they don't go there because, you have to be in your little niche genre, and otherwise they don't know how to market it, and they sort of implode. And so back to the girl who talks to ashes, which, by the way, an agent turned down because she didn't know how to market something that went back and forth between a teenager's point of view and an adult's point of view. And she said, I love the script, but I don't know how to bring this up to a publisher. And that, to me, I mean, that's why I think indie's where it's at, because again, we can break all of those rules. But I had a dream. In my dream, I saw my little brother, and in the dream, I started getting some sort of headache, or my forehead was just splitting. I don't know if I was dehydrated before I went to bed that night or what. And as I was sort of almost having a seizure in my dream, my brother, who was 25 at the time, kept sort of vacillating between like his 8-year-old self and like a future 30-year-old self. And I woke up, and that's how, the theory or idea of time bending seizures came into play. And then I just started writing, because why plot when you can just write?
Oh, so you're a discovery writer is the nice way to say it.
I am a hardcore, diehard pantster. I sometimes feel bad saying that I'm a writer because I don't actually write anything. My characters write it, but they're very organized. I mean, they never go on tangents. They just sort of, like possess my brain and say, this is what you're going to write today. And that other idea you had, it's not happening. It's going to go the way we want it to go. So really, the author of The Girl Who Talks to Ashes is Lila Quinn.
Yeah, well, it's working. It's working so far. It's working very, very well. That's amazing. The idea for it came from a dream, like because it sounds like such a vivid dream as well. Because like, it's the concept of that book is so like high concept. It's not just like it deals with like epilepsy and seizures, but like this power that manifests through it as well. And I mean, thankfully, I don't suffer with that, but I know people who do, and I've been around people that do. And I felt that you wrote it so it was so grounded in this realism of the experience, but obviously then you twisted it into this magical thing as well, which I love the book. I think it's an amazing book, and I've actually read it. I've read it twice now. I read it and then just went back and read it again because I loved it so much. So,
oh my gosh, thank you. I don't read my own books twice, so that means a lot.
You read your own books about 70 times. At the end of it, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah. By the time this last book came out, I was like, okay, I'm never reading again. And then, of course, I started writing a new story. But no, thank you. That actually really means a lot. I was nervous about that story. It's unusual, and I didn't know if people were going to appreciate it for that or be turned off by it. So thank you.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for writing it. But it's funny how when you get sent, when you get copies of your own book, and like sometimes people say to me, like, have you read the book yet as a real book? I'm like, no, I've read that book so many times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
And
never.
yet, and yet there are readers like for the Lightning Conjurer series, the first one came out in 2018, like exactly 3 years ago. And people bring up details about that book. And I mean, I read that book, as you said, 70 times. And a reader will bring something up and I say, did I write that?
Yeah.
And of course I have to play it cool, like, oh, yes, of course, that minor character who I completely forgot about was a in-depth part of the thought process of what were we talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like you read some reviews and they're like, the concept, what they did here means this, and it was so, and it's like I did not consider that one little bit, but
Sure, if you want to make me sound smarter than I am, by all means,
yes,
please.
it's
Yeah.
great. I love people that really look deeply into things, much deeper than I did.
Yeah,
That-
definitely.
So let's talk about the Lightning Conjurer series, because you have just completed it. It's there. It's done. How does that feel? Like, we'll talk about the ins and outs of it, but I'm really kind of like, how I've never talked to someone who has finished a series yet. How does it feel that it's done, that it's there and it's gone? Well, it's not gone, but it's there. Like,
Well, I actually I finished it over a year ago. It was done. It was 3 books. And I conquered my fear because I have yet to find a trilogy where I thought that each book got better and better. Typically for me, trilogies are the first book is awesome, second book is, pretty good, glad I picked it up, and third book is what the hell did you just do? And obviously I'm picking up the wrong trilogies because I'm sure there are really, really good ones out there. But so I had a lot of anxiety. I wrapped it up. I wrapped it up damn well. I was proud of myself. I felt like it was the strongest of the 3 books. And then I just kept having these questions popping up like, yeah, but what happened 5 years later? And okay, this is kind of tied up now, but it feels a little precarious. And then, I couldn't sleep. And so it had been like a year later. And, one dreary gray day in the middle of the pandemic, I started writing, but it was from the love interest point of view. So, like above your head, it's the guy who's like, holding her hand. You can see it.
it's got
And
it.
yeah, and so he started telling his story, and it was a really cool story. And then, like 6 chapters in, my other favorite character, the gal with the green hair next to your right shoulder, she was like, "Hey, you stop talking. I have things to say." And so before I knew it, it was this really cool 4 years into the future story where all of the characters were kind of wrapping things up of what actually happened years later. And I'm really proud of it. And I'm so glad it's done. And I don't have any more questions anymore. It's good. We're done. They can move on with their lives now. I wrote my epilogue.
It was like your own type of therapy. It was like, I need to know what happens to these people.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Were
You
you
care
getting?
about your characters. You need to know that,
Yeah.
they really did, like, they're okay. That after the happily ever after, that they didn't have to go to like marriage counseling or,
Yeah.
I worry about that in a lot of rom-coms.
Oh yes, definitely. Like some of them that you kind of like, you'd be doing one of those things where you'd be like at a wedding or something, and be like, "How did you two meet?" And they tell the story, and everyone would be like, "Really?"
Hmm. Are you guys gonna still be together in 2 months? Because I don't think so.
Yeah. So you hated each other for most of the relationship, and then suddenly it was like, you know what, we're gonna give it a go, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be
It'll be
fine.
fine.
It'll be
Totally
fine.
fine.
So so after you finished the third book, were you getting people also, like readers actually asking as well, saying, what, there's more to this story?
They were saying it's wrapped up really nicely. I mean, all of the big questions were answered. But they were already saying, I'm not ready for this world to be over. And I'm saying, look, I suffered from ADHD, unmedicated, untreated most of my life. I just wrote you 3 books. They're like this thick, and you're asking me for more? Get off with you. But then, the little like worms got like in my ears saying, but what about?
Yeah.
And so I put out another book.
because the big books as well, like the latest one, which came out just this week, is a big book as well. So it's not like little bits of story. It's big chunks of story as well.
Yeah, yeah. There's some indie authors who are a lot more business savvy and intelligent than I am, and they put out shorter books so they can sell more of them. Which is why they probably also have a lot more money than me. But I put out big books because we're not gun people. Like we live in America, but we're not gun people here. Instead, I have my 500-page books where I can bludgeon an intruder if they come in, which is so much more, right? Like a frightening writer coming screaming at you, like with her book held over. Like that's a lot scarier than me pointing, the 22
Yeah.
at you.
Yeah, because you probably like me, you're writing at weird hours as well. So like you probably just, it's you're in a high tension state all the time. Right? And someone comes in, 500-page book, two of them in both hands. That's a great thing about fantasy readers. They've got such an arsenal of weapons.
Like even behind me, whatever. It's no, damn it. Indie Fantasy Addicts put out an anthology with like 21 different stories. It's like this big.
Yeah.
And I thought I had it up here, but it's downstairs by the front door, which makes the most sense because if we get an intruder, then
Yeah. Great. Like just lay them near all the entrances to the house.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I
read that.
Like, cockatoo, no one is going to be able to break in.
Yes, exactly. I read that anthology actually. We can talk about indie fantasy addicts actually a little bit. So for people that don't know about it, you should join it. If you're watching this show and you're subscribing to this channel, there's chances are that you like fantasy books. So search for it on Facebook. It's Indie Fantasy Addicts. It's an amazing group of writers and readers of fantasy, and there's always different things going on. We're just at the end of the summer reading challenge, which has been fantastic.
It's been so
Yeah, it's been great. So many new books and so many new like series that I'm like, I need to. Like, I've read the first one of so many, and I'm like, I need to go back and this one and this one and this one and this one. So you're one of the people behind IFA. So how much of your time goes into, because it's not a small group, it's a big group, and as you said, you release anthologies as well, and obviously your own things, as you can see behind me. Like it's not like you just rest on your laurels. You are writing big books as well.
Yeah. It on a slow week, it's maybe 10 hours. And on a busy week, it's a second full-time job. And my husband's in bed and it's 12:30 at night, and he's sort of like, "Hey, Rach, do you want to watch The Simpsons?" I'm like, yeah. Hold on. But it's the best. It's the best group. I love it so much. I started as a reader a few years ago. One of my readers invited me in, and so I just sort of lurked, and I just fell in love with it and started doing more and more. And then, before I knew it, they were actually giving me responsibilities, which is a terrible idea, but I'm an admin now. They can't get rid of me.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, you're always on here talking to people. You may as well just help out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
There were some bribes too, but we're not supposed to talk about that.
Okay, yeah, leave the bribe. We won't. Well, I will edit that bit out. Maybe not. We'll see. So the Lightning Conjurer series. So, four books. The first book is Awakening. Where did the was it all? So in your head when you started it off, it was a trilogy. When you started it off, that was the plan.
No, when I started off, it was my husband was bullying me and told me to write. And so I just started to write, and I didn't know what I was doing because I was stumbling through a dark forest with a dim flashlight. So like most of my best ideas, I had no idea what the hell I was embarking on, but it turned out okay due to sheer luck.
That's good. When did at what point when you were writing it did you think, right, okay, this is going to be multiple books, or did you not realize until near the end?
No, I around the middle of the book, and by then I hadn't told anyone what I was doing, because I still was like, oh my God, I'm actually writing a book. This is crazy. I'm sure I'm going to quit any day now. But it was around halfway through where I said, oh wow, there's no way I can finish this in one story. And I decided at that point that it was going to be a Star Wars arc, right? She was sort of like the small town girl in the first book, and then her world got expanded in the second one, and then in the third one she'd have to come back as like a full-fledged Jedi, but there are no lightsabers. And yeah, and it worked out. It worked out great.
Yeah.
And then of course there was the sequel at the end because Disney stepped in and gave me more budget.
Yeah, and the same with the Matrix as well. It's like Matrix 4 coming out, and it's all the rage things. Like, you were ahead of the curve. You were kind of like, this will be
The
the next.
Wachowski sisters, they come to me for tips, but only one listened this time because apparently only one sister is doing this new reloaded Matrix.
Reloaded, and resurrected, and revolutionized. All the re's that you can get. I'm really looking forward to it. I watched the original Matrix again there the other day, and like it took me about 10 minutes to kind of get back into it again, because I just kept on thinking, oh my God, this is 22 years old. And I remember going to the cinema to watch this film.
No, it's not. It's not.
No,
it's not.
I'm sorry to say it is, yeah. 22 years old. And what's funny thing is, you mentioned Star Wars before. On the same day, I watched The Phantom Menace and watched The Matrix in the cinema on the same day when I was like 16. So.
Shit. I need to go get like a shot of something with liquors.
Yeah.
Wow, 22 years. And Keanu Reeves is still amazing and looks amazing, and we all love him. And after 2+ decades, we still haven't found a bad thing to say about the man.
No. I mean, we love him. We love him more than we did back then as well. Like he's each year our love for him grows. Which is great.
Did you see the new Bill and Ted?
I did, yeah, I did. I really liked it.
It was pretty excellent. I thought they did a good job.
Yeah. I liked it. I love the Bill and Ted films. I love the second one. The second one is like I just even more than the first one actually. I like it because the second one's so weird. And
I don't do a lot of recreational stuff, although marijuana is legal in Colorado. And I want to say that was one of the times when I did marijuana, because I do not remember that movie.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'll have to watch it when we're done talking.
Yeah, it's so weird, right? And some people really like it, and some people don't. But I just think it's just so strange. So I really like the third one. It was like a nice little nostalgia thing, and just they're having fun. And
Thank you for giving me another movie to watch this weekend.
That's fine. That's what I do. That's part of my shtick. So Lightning Conjurer series is done for now until you get more budget, maybe in a few years' time. What is next? Have you had an idea yet for your next thing, or you have?
Yeah. Okay, so there's another. I've been busy. There's another anthology coming out in November, and I teamed up with a debut author, Alora Carter, but she's so talented, and she and I wrote about a dragon in a retirement home, and a little human girl just happens to stumble over there, and after deciding not to eat her, not out of the goodness of his heart, but because he thought that he might choke on her little femur bones, they embark on like a curious journey for applesauce. So that's coming out.
Cool.
I'm also working on 2 stories right now. Alora and I are working on, it's like really early process, but it has to do with sirens, but maybe man-eating sirens, maybe not. I don't know. And then the one that I'm really, really excited about starts off with a man's buttocks. Like, that's the first sentence, is like a large man's butt, because it has to do with tattoos and magical realism.
Okay.
But this one's near and dear to my heart, because people kept telling me, your books are funny, you're a funny person, you should write an actual like humorous book. as opposed to just having humorous asides. And unfortunately, they're going to get what they asked for. I mean, it could be the end of my career as we know it, but
Or the start of a new era. Right, okay, so writing a comedy and it is fantasy as well. Is it making you laugh when you're writing it? Are you kind of
It's ridiculous. And I've got like a Jewish mother from New York, and this character also has kind of a Jewish mother from New York. And so it's the first dialogue I had between them was like, "Why are you shouting? I'm not shouting. You're shouting. I'm just excited." And like this morning, my mom called me, and it was like the exact same conversation. So yeah, I'm tickled pink. I don't know if anyone else will think it's funny, but I think it's hilarious.
You can't go wrong with the open lines about Mandy's buttocks anyway. So like, you're setting the bar very high.
Yeah.
And where you need to go. Yeah. And that's not all you've been doing. I mean, you have as well, we're talking before we started recording, that you have created a new website in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
So and you've got loads of merch on there as well. Okay, I was looking it up just before, and I saw you made a post about it on Facebook, and I was like, oh, so there is. I'll have the links on there below. There is a special offer for your new website going on at the moment.
Yeah. I haven't been sleeping or eating, but I'm done now. So again, there won't be a need for marriage counseling. I have a very patient husband. But there's a new website. No, it's not rachelrener.com because I don't really care about myself. I care about the books. So it's the lightningconjurer.com, and my shop is 20% off. And you can get like yoga pants. And one of the other admins from Indie Fantasy Addicts asked me to make naughty underwear. So that's not on there yet, but it will be. It will be. So it's not just books.
Yes. Yeah. So bookmark the website for the naughty underwear that's going to be on pretty soon. That's the way to do it. Rachel, I could literally talk to you all day. I think it would be really, really fun. So you'll have to come on another time, and we can talk about your next books that are coming on. So all the links to all your social medias, to the books, to the website will all be below. So go and click on them. Not you, because you have them all already. But
on them, you never know. It's been a while.
I'm just going to go through them and see what everything's like. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. This has been amazing, and best of luck with the new book. And people that haven't read it, go and get the first book, read through the whole series, and come and tell Rachel to write a fifth one.
Thank you so much, David. Talking to you is a blast. Seriously, I could see this happening all night and again. So next time I will have read all of your books, and then we're going to switch things up where I'm going to be asking you cool questions. Also, there's going to be a bottle of something in front of us. If you don't drink, that's fine. But yeah.
Yeah, I do drink, but I actually was like, I'm going to take the night off tonight because it was a very messy last couple of days.
Because as Homer Simpson says, alcohol is the cause of and solution to all of life's problems.
Exactly right. On that point, thank you very much for coming on. And for everyone that's watching, check out our Rachel's books, check out our website, check out our social medias, check out Indie Fantasy Addicts. And if you haven't liked and subscribed the video and the channel, please do so. Until next time, thanks very much.